Boho style homes epitomize artistic expression and free-spirited design, each telling a tale of rich textures, eclectic furnishings, and a relaxed yet vibrant atmosphere. And today, we're taking you to see 3 stunning homes that showcase this unique style. An influencer's beach house in New York, a design couple's laid-back bungalow in Montecito, and a fashion stylist's collected Orange County gem. Watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hi, I'm Steffi and welcome to my home.
And who's this?
This is Claude. She's always guarding the territory. Hi, my name's Steffi and I am an Instagrammer and I run the account at Steffi where I share lifestyle and fashion and home renovation, and we're in my home in Long Beach, New York. So when I first bought it, I actually loved it exactly as is. It just wasn't super functional. It was just really broken up. It was built in the 50s, so it had a lot of like individual rooms with like awkward sizing. The living room was in the same spot. The kitchen was all the way in the back of the house, which was super awkward when we had guests. We would have to like carry our dishes all the way down the hall. And then there was a really cute dining room, but it connected to a laundry room, so it was really strange, but I loved it for being strange. I didn't love not having a dishwasher with the 1-year-old. That part really stunk. But we lived in it for like a year and a half with all of its like original layout before we finally jumped into renovating it. So this is our entryway. It's been a little bit interesting figuring out how I wanted to style it because there used to be a wall and now it's like open, but there's not that much space between the living room and like where you walk in. Originally I had a bench behind the couch, but I felt like walking into a bench was kind of awkward. So I ended up landing on this nice little table where we like keep our keys. I have a little basket for like the kids stuff, like hats and scarves and that kind of thing. And then the wall itself always felt like slightly too white and plain for me. So finally, after a year of going back and forth on wallpaper, I landed on this peel and stick, which makes the wall feel complete. I would always wake up and look in this corner and be like, what can I do there to make it feel like I don't need to touch it ever again? Because I feel like I'm always tinkering with this area. My husband's like, what are you gonna order now? Like, it looks great. I'm like, it's not done though. Like, it needs something else. And I feel like adding the peel and stick wallpaper actually made me be like, it's done. Like, I can stop focusing on it now. This space has been kind of interesting to design because we have so many windows and not that much wall space. In decorating, that was like the biggest challenge. We used to have a smaller TV that was like sitting on a media stand right in this corner, kind of awkwardly. It was what we had at our previous apartment, didn't really think much of it. But then this year we were at home so much and I started to really rethink our living room. Also, my dad is 6'4" and he used to come and sit on our last couch and complain that it was like the most uncomfortable couch he's ever sat on. So it like got in my head and I'm like, I need to redesign this space. So my first step was finding this incredible article couch that is so comfortable. It's like 1,000 times more comfortable than our previous couch. And I love the color. I pretty much got the exact same color couch that we originally had. And I just love it. It's like now where we hang out all the time. The table I actually purchased with my 1-year-old in mind because he was starting to pull up on our last table and it was really tippy and I was just getting heart attacks every day. So I'm like, I really need a table that's like kid friendly. And then with this space, I always wanted a fireplace. We would rent places like Airbnbs upstate and I would come home and be like, oh, I really wish we had like a centerpiece to our living room that just grounds the room. And then I had an epiphany. I couldn't sleep one night postpartum, and my baby was maybe like 3 months old at that point, and I was like, I want to put like a fall mantle in our living room. I'd seen them all over Pinterest, and it just never clicked that I could actually make that happen in my own space. We love it now because it opened up a lot of space. So it does feel like more open. I like that I can like design different like tchotchkes on here around the holidays. And then we got a frame TV, which is just like a sneaky, it's like you don't think it's a TV, and it is. I just can't believe that a TV could be that cute. Because they're usually like what you kind of want to hide in a corner, but this is like really the centerpiece of our room. I'm still like not certain if I should leave it red or paint it white. So if you guys have any input, because I go back and forth. Some days I'm like, oh, I don't like the red, and others I'm like, oh, I love it. It's like a nice contrast. But then this was from Etsy. There's an artist who cuts all the wood up and glues it all on. So it kind of looks like it's like receding into the wall, but it's not. Obviously up close, I feel like it doesn't look that way, but from far away it does. So this is where we eat all of our meals. I am always thankful for it just because we walked down a long hallway with plates for so long since our kitchen was so far away. It's so nice having the kitchen right next to the dining room. And then this corner was like, there was always like a really awkward record player like right in the corner. And finally, again, I tackled it when I was at home for a year. And I found this beautiful vintage piece again on Facebook Marketplace. Husband ran out and got it late at night. It was like a pea soup green kind of. And I ended up refinishing it and painting it white. And I love it. It adds some like vintage charm into the space. I see this house as my forever home just because it's in the perfect location for us to raise our kids. So I didn't want to go super bold on the style of the kitchen. I love like the trend where the bottom cabinets are black or a color, but I just didn't think that that would be something I would want to live with forever. So I ended up doing like a very white mid-century modern mix with like a kind of luxe feeling kitchen. We picked out this slab. We went in and we like saw a bunch of slabs, and my husband and I picked it out together. And I love the waterfall Peninsula Island. It's like the first thing you see when you walk in. And then we also loved having like a walnut colored wood open shelf. And I have so much fun swapping out the decor on the shelf like month to month. I'll be like, oh, I feel like it needs to be a little bit yellow this month. Like I'll always change it. And then we knew we wanted a farmhouse sink because I just saw them and loved them always. And then I picked this gold handle and gold hardware to kind of give it like a more luxe feeling. And then the window above the sink is something else I always dreamed of having, like a window that you could open up on like a nice spring day like today and just like breathe in fresh air. The other thing with the kitchen that I guess is kind of interesting is when we first did the kitchen, when we first started like renovating it, we had a door right here that we closed up, and we had no plans to add skylights. And I walked in to like check on the job with my aunt, who I mentioned earlier, and a tear fell down because I was like, it's so dark in here, and like we need to figure something out on the spot because we can't have a dark kitchen. Like that defeats the purpose of renovating. So on the spot, we decided to add in this door over here and to add 2 skylights. It ended up holding up our job about 5 weeks because we had to order the skylights, they had to cut them in. It was like a whole new level that we didn't plan for, but to this day, I'm like, it's so worth those 5 weeks. Like I would do it over and over again because these just bring so much nice natural light into the kitchen. Here we are in my bedroom, and this is a room that we redesigned completely when we renovated because we really wanted to have a few things. We wanted to have a bigger space to have our bed come this way in between the 2 windows, which is kind of like what we envisioned the room was supposed to be like. And then we really wanted 2 separate closets.
I feel like you've brought the outdoors inside.
In here, it's not always like so green. Like I said, I love to like swap the decor out all the time. It's actually been like this for a while.
So I have to ask, is the tattoo on the arm the dog in the bed?
It is. And funny enough, my husband has it too. He's got it on his heart. So now I'm gonna take you into the bathroom, which actually used to be our kitchen. Da-da-da. It's crazy. It's been like a year and a half, so I almost can't imagine it anymore, but I kind of can, because we had like, the sink was right here, and then this was like the counter space, and I actually spent a lot of time in the kitchen before we before we renovated the bathroom. I DIY'd that kitchen and I painted the cabinets white, so I spent so much time just like making that kitchen feel really me. So I sometimes will still get like flashbacks of being in it, and like my 1-year-old high chair was right here, and I would like feed him dinner, and it's just so wild how you could take a space and use it in like a completely different way. But the way it is right now really feels like a spa. So I come in every night, I take a bath. It's just so nice. So now I'm gonna take you to my closet, which is my favorite place in the house and where I spend the most time. It's like everything I've always dreamed of as a little girl. It is just so nice. The best thing about it is I have a door, so you know, as a mom, sometimes you need to like sneak a Reese's bar without your kids seeing, or like just take a moment and get dressed and have like some sanity and quiet. So this is like where I do that. I hide my yoga mat behind here, and it's like the perfect length to fit in my closet and do a workout. So I do that a lot of days of the week. The first thing that I love and I like admire every day is the shoe wall. I just love being able to see all my shoes in one place. I've lived in so many places where I had to like, my shoes were like in a shoe rack underneath my clothes, and like you gotta push the dresses up to see your shoes. Like, oh, that is just like terrible. So it's just, I'm always so thankful to have them just like laid out where I could just grab them. I also, this is like a really small detail that you might not notice, but the closet company did gold hang bars, and I feel like that little touch makes such a big difference. The fact that like the gold matches the gold. And then we ended up doing glassing here, and I love that it's just like a solid glassed in door for like my nicer bags. And the mirror backsplash is another one that we went back and forth on, and then ultimately we were like, that just makes it so nice to like put your jewelry on and have a mirror. I wouldn't say it's my favorite piece, but the piece that holds the most sentimental value is this dress. I would never get rid of it. It's from Forever 21, but when I was pregnant with my youngest, my son Charlie, I would take bump pictures every week in it. So it's super sentimental to me. This is the area where I film a lot of videos for my Instagram and for TikTok now, I guess. And I never felt like this wall was complete, and I had been seeing all these board and batten tutorials all over the internet. I guess it's like a thing right now. And I was like, I can do it. Like, I think I can do it. And I did it, like all by myself. It was crazy. I was like mind blown, and it's not perfect, but it looks good enough for me, I think, for my first try. I really felt like the wall needed like some dimension, and I also, I love clothes, so I wanted to like have them displayed in my like little region where I like do my makeup and I look at my outfit, and I'm like, I just want to be able to have like something here that's like, it's not all hidden in my closet. Here in Long Beach, New York, there was like a huge Hurricane Sandy a few years back, and it's a really, most houses after the hurricane lifted, so they're like these giant 3-story homes that are also safer in case of a hurricane or anything. But I didn't want to do that to this home. I loved the like quaint feel you get when you just like walk up to the door. It's a red brick house. And you walk in and you can just tell that there's pieces of it that still are like reminiscent of the 50s. And even though like everyone recommended that we lift the house, I was super adamant to not do that. I feel like the house still has that like quaint charm that I fell in love with when I first saw it.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Tamara.
Hi, I'm JP. Welcome to our house in Montecito, California.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, my name is Tamara Cajuste. I am a flight attendant and a designer, and I live in Montecito, California.
And my name is Jean-Philippe Cajuste, and I also live in Montecito, California with my beautiful wife, and I am known as the Pillow Man. So we ended up at this home about almost 5 years ago, about a few months before COVID. We were prior living in Manhattan Beach, California, and we were doing a lot of business up here in Montecito. Fell in love with it, and we are so excited to be here.
We really love historical homes, and so we were just looking around, and we stumbled upon this, and it kind of really fell into our lap. The people, the owners really wanted us to move in, and we weren't quite ready because we have a kid and our daughter is in middle school, so we weren't ready to move. But it was just such an opportunity that we couldn't pass up, so we just went for it, and it's been one of the best moves ever.
To add to that was, we weren't really looking. We had to open up a little pop-up at the Country Mart here in Montecito, and our last week we were here, decided to go just drive around and kick some tires and sort of dream a bit. It's always been a fantasy of mine to be up here, and honestly, it did come true. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience. It's so beautiful, and it's so tranquil, and the house is over 120 years old. It's basically right up our alley. So this is actually two different rooms, even though we don't have a partition, but this area is our game room. We play many, many nights with marathon of backgammon. And throughout the winter months, obviously the fireplace is going, we have martinis. COVID was actually a pretty fun time with the family.
I found them on the side of the road in Round Top, and I asked the guy if I could buy them, and they said they're just, props or whatever, but I said I gotta have them. And I found out they came from the Turkish embassy, and there's the female version and the male version of the chairs, and I just think they're so charming and delightful.
Yes, they are. And we like to layer quite a bit, as you will see. Tamara's a big fan of Suzani's, especially vintage Suzani's. So we like to layer quite a bit of the textiles over our sofas, ottomans, on walls. We do quite a bit of art collecting, especially this one here. She's a big fan of Mary McGuire out of the East Coast.
She's a dear friend of mine, and she does these beautiful, like whimsical paintings with such lovely color. They just make you so happy.
Yeah.
That particular one reminds me of the Caribbean, which I love so much because my honey's from the Caribbean and just so special.
As you'll see throughout the walls, we bought these Tree of Life fixtures. I didn't know what they were for when we first got them, but we somehow layered them throughout the house, and it adds quite a bit of a touch to it, I believe. Our aesthetic is not necessarily a look, it's very much more of a feel. And then this part of the living room is more of a family TV room. This is where we hang. We actually entertain quite a bit of friends sometimes. As you'll see, we big collectors of books. We get a lot of our inspiration from. Our sofa is, as you can see, it's pretty thick. I'm a big dude, and very lush. It's with vintage linen. Kids love it. And so we like to layer quite a bit. Even though I'm known as the pillow man, I don't put a lot of pillows on our sofa. That's one thing we don't like to do. So we like to keep it very simple.
So when we designed this room, there was just some reason. The color, the yellow and the orange colors were just calling me to it. I don't know why. The color palette really just came to me, and so I think maybe it's the citrus in Montecito, the smells of the citrus and the green. Anyway, so all the colors are picked up, a lot of oranges and a lot of yellows. That's what this room was telling me it wanted to be. Here another Mary Maguire, another Caribbean picture. And then she did a chocolate box for Louis Chéri, which is just darling with her little pictures on it. Okay, so the lampshades are made from vintage hippie fabric, vintage antique Indian block print, which I just love and collect for years and years. And again, you're picking up the oranges and the greens and the citrusy colors. Again, it's so pretty.
The bottles are actually vintage wine bottles we picked up on some of our hunts. We like to make a lot of our items like lamps and tables and chairs. We use quite a bit of different techniques, but that's one of an example of the items that we like to make. Also, you'll notice these sconces are old vintage sconces that Tamara found. Again, I don't know how she finds these things, but it's pretty amazing. When we first got them, I thought I was going to throw them away, but they landed up on my wall, and they're pretty cool. I love my French doors. I log these back. We do a lot of buying in Texas, in Round Top, Texas. I'm going to incorporate some of these doors throughout my home somewhere, but for now they're just leaning on my wall. The mirror came from Thailand. We've had it for probably 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's actually my little pride and joy. And the lamps, Tamara could tell you a little bit more about those lamps.
I just love them. I got them and I have to have them, and I just love them.
The bowls are a big item of ours. We do collect quite a bit of the Turkish vintage yogurt bowls, I believe.
And they're very hard to come by now, and they're just so every single one of them is one of a kind. And I just love the terracotta, and again the palette of the yellow and the green, and just the little stories that they tell on every one of them.
Yeah, you can see them throughout the home for sure. Tamara, I always say she's got an amazing eye, and I have a good talent to style. So we kind of work very, very well together. I love to layer. I do that even with my own clothing. I put an old belt with some new pair, a suit or something like that. As you'll see, the rug, it's an old vintage rug that we picked up in, is it Turkey?
Texas.
Turkey?
Yeah, it's Turkish.
It's Turkish.
Yes.
But it complements, the chairs, the pillows, the bowls. It
ties it all together. Yeah.
We've been very fortunate to be able to do that. Pillowman kind of, well, I'll say this, the business was a hobby of Tamara's. She was as a flight attendant, she traveled the world and would collect textiles, and unfortunately I was just like, I don't need this stuff in my house. At some point you gotta move this stuff out. And she goes, you'll see one day, and she would make pillows for us at the house. And it evolved over the last 20 years into this little mini lifestyle brand called Indian Pink. But the nickname Pillowman was given to me because every time I went someplace, they kept saying, are you the Pillowman? Are you the Pillowman? And I said, yeah, I guess so. So here I am.
So as you can see, I am a huge fan of the Indian poppy. A friend of mine, I bought these from a friend of mine, and they are just my pride and joy. And the other one, I'm getting it printed in India, so the other panel's gone. And I just love the fact that I love a pop of red. So we're bringing a little bit of red in our dark, cozy dining room. And so I love just here's a muted red table that is like my pride and joy. My table and my painting are my two favorite really items that I own. A painting from Argentina. And my husband always threatens me when we get in a fight or whatever. He's like, I'll sell your table. or I'll sell your painting. So
Yeah, but again, it goes back to mixing. Here you have vintage antique French chairs with the linen, and then you have this 20-year-old Indian painted table with a. And as you'll turn around, you'll see we have this Argentinian painting that Tamara and her one of her travels picked up.
I carried it home from Argentina. And it's really my pride and joy. Initially it was my daughter and I, and then I had another daughter, so now it's my two daughters. And I will never part with my painting. My new obsession, because I have a lot of obsession with collections, is this French, it's called Crazyville, French pottery that I just adore. And a lot of people I'm just finding a lot of it. And so the collection grows. And I love the little soup bowl. Everything's just so charming. And I just love it so much.
This is a new item Tamara's been collecting over the last year, and she had gone to France, and she FaceTimed me and said, "What do you think about these plates?" I go, "Well, they're really granny looking." And she said, "Are you kidding me? These are so beautiful." And I was like, "Okay, well, maybe bring some home." And here she comes with luggage of
Yes, on my
plates.
layovers, I've got all my stuff, and I've only got 24 hours there, and I'm coming home with like a duffel bag full of dishes, out of all things to collect on a layover.
First thing when I came in here, I was like, okay, we got to paint these walls. These are not gonna stay like this. This is granny, too old. But then I fell in love with them because it's so natural and it's such a great character to it.
And I said, no way, we're not painting these walls.
But the home is about 125 years old. I think these have been here probably well over 75 probably. And
at night with like the lighting and the candles, it's just
Yeah,
such
it's
a
definitely
special
beautiful.
little cozy room. It really, really is.
yeah.
The server did come with the house, which is so nice because there's a lot of, with all the collections, we need storage space. So it's really nice and it just looks like it all, was meant to be there.
Especially at night, it has this very sexy, like smoky feel to it, this area, even though with the granny plates, I call them. But there's definitely another layer that's very inviting. It feels like you're walking into a upscale restaurant in a sense. Yeah, it's definitely growing on me with these plates for sure.
Yeah.
So these were found also in Texas. These are actually old spindles, stair spindles. And we just made lamps out of them. We just created this sort of, smoky, and then the black shades Tamara just added to the
I thought
lamp.
the black shade just went with this room. It was just a little more
Yeah.
formal and kind of, just made it a little more, I don't know, I just liked it.
I mean, even though everything's not French, we have a French flag, but the plates definitely are French, the bottles, but the painting's Argentinian, the lamps.
It's
I
actually
think,
from Spain.
which the Spain.
And ended up in Argentina.
And there you go, ended up Argentina. One of our little finds, nothing too spectacular, but it just adds a slight little touch. It goes well with the lamps and the painting, I think. It sort of complements each other there. We do sometimes change lampshades, maybe something a little bit more funner throughout the summer with pattern. But yeah, it kind of goes together, doesn't it?
So I've been collecting fabric like my whole life. I've just always done it. And so when I would go on my trips, I would just find the nearest vendor of any authentic, textile that they made from that country, like in China and India. And I would go to the source and just find these amazing pieces of fabric. And then I would come home and make pillows out of them and collect them, and it just kind of just turned into a big, hobby. And then Jean-Philippe people wanted them, so he just started selling them. And it really just we went from store to store, and it just kind of it just developed on its own.
So now also it's become more than just pillows, it's furniture, but we always use vintage textiles. We don't do anything very new.
Or we reproduce vintage textiles.
We reproduce vintage textiles.
Yes,
and,
which is our new thing that we're doing. We have a wonderful man in India that reproduces antique fabric for us, and it's just amazing, the quality of the workmanship. Okay, now we're gonna take you to the kitchen. I just love this little peekaboo maid's quarters door. It's so awesome. Come on in.
That's just to keep the riffraff out.
This is our kitchen. We love this little old antique kitchen. It's got great storage built-ins. And then I have another collection, my collection of plates. I love collecting plates from all over. And so this is kind of our little breakfast nook that we just eat here quite often.
Yeah.
And then we've got this old-fashioned kitchen that is not updated, but that we just absolutely love. It's just, everybody's always in here cooking. Jean-Philippe is a big cook. And so we're making food.
Yeah.
Lots of fun breakfast. Sunday mornings, we always have BLTs.
The botanicals you're seeing up top of the cabinetry here just adds another layer to the cabinets, I believe, and it draws your eye upwards. And with the gold frames, again, you know, we're trying to just give it some sort of a style with the gold knobs, the brass, you know, faucet. But again, it's nothing that we're trying to be so ostentatious about it, but more of just a clean feel. But yeah, there's some really fun dinners that come out of this kitchen for sure.
Right, it's a very functional kitchen. We do a lot of cooking in here. The rug I got at an antique store or at a thrift store, and I just fell in love with it. Just again, I'm always searching wherever I go. Every layover, I go and find an antique mall, find a vendor, find an antique area, and just bring home, you know, just collect. It's just because you never know when you're going to find something good.
Yeah, you know, the one word I do always use almost too much, it's called being unpredictable. We don't know reason why, it just somehow ends up looking good at that space. I mean, like, even like the tablecloths, you know, when you see them in a place, you'll never think of like, oh, where am I gonna put that? And then you put it in your kitchen and it works. And it sort of marries everything together.
The painting we found at the Long Beach flea market, I think. And then the tablecloths I collect as much as I possibly can. The vintage, I call it hippie cloth, but it's all vintage block print, and they're just absolutely
from the
stunning.
60s, right? Yeah.
Yeah, from the 60s and 70s.
The home itself, first of all, it's a historical home, and it has such a beautiful bone type structure. I feel like it's like an understated piece of gem.
The most beautiful thing about Montecito is it's like on the trees, it's gardens on the water. So it's very enlightening, and the way that the town sits, the whole Santa Barbara, is north-south. So it's very, like, when the clouds come in, it's very misty all the time. So it's like it's very dreamy here, and so green, and then you have the ocean. It's just magical.
The only way I could compare it to is very Mediterranean. As Tamara mentioned, it's east, it goes south and north. So when the sun rises, especially in the summertime, it almost rises in the ocean in the morning and sets in the ocean at night. So it's a very surreal, beautiful Mediterranean feel. That's the only way I could describe it. Welcome to
It's our backyard.
our little backyard. Actually, this is more of an alfresco dining area that we love to entertain. Is an old vintage French wine tasting table from the early 1900s. I'm a big fan of old, long, skinny tables. I'm a big that's my collection. I've been collecting those quite a bit now. The chairs are just your basic IKEA, outdoor.
Little French fold-up chairs. They're fabulous.
They work well with the table. These are old vintage urns that we found on some of our trips. But we do put candles in there at night. Our sort of dinners are filled with laughter and with music. We have a lot of artist friends, painters, musicians, actors, and so it can be quite lovely out here with these dinners. Sometimes they end up in a little
refreshing place.
Yeah, for sure.
Really is. Our kids are big volleyball players, so we used to have a volleyball court out here.
Yeah.
And now we just kind of changed it to now we sit out there during sunset. It's really pretty with the chairs. It's just really there's so many different locations in this home where you can just sit little, areas, which is so nice. And it's all about the way the sun hits.
One thing, as you noticed, so see, you hear the birds. It's extremely quiet. There's an old church that's not too far away, and it always tells you what time it is as the bells ring.
So you hear the church bells, and you hear the train, which is really it's very nostalgic, Montecito. People, when they come up here, they're like, oh, it's so relaxing. So it's really a refreshing place to come.
And the beach is down the street. It's not that far.
So here we have this little courtyard that I like to have little fresh plants. We sit out here, have coffee in the morning. The wisteria during April, the wisteria blooms here, and it's just magical. I'm sorry it's not there right now. Anyway, it's just a really charming little courtyard. I just love it. When we have a dinner party, it's like,
usually this is a bar area that we put our bar, an outdoor bar, and then we have quite a bit of people over, and then we just go right into the dining room and have dinner or late lunch.
Now we're going to take you into our studio / dressing room. It's kind of I have a thing with red, but I don't like too much red in the house, so I just love red pillows. They just do something for me. And I have my whole collection of fabrics over here. These are antique Suzani fabric that just is my obsession right now, and they're over 100 years old, very difficult to find. The tradition of the stitching is not, it's becoming extinct because the new generations are not doing it anymore. So, and then I just got this in Doha. It's Iranian kalamakari. I just got this last week in Doha, and it's just amazing. All of this fabric here, this is called Nankin, and it comes from China. And they're old. This has actually been dyed a bit, but they're old mattresses from back in the day. And I mean, the amount of beautiful pillows we've made from this textile is amazing. So we make primarily pillows, but then also other items out of all of these textiles. This is Kantha cloth. It is it's like stitched. These are old saris, and they never throw anything away. So they just stitch and stitch and stitch, and they become these beautiful blankets with the colors and the softness, and they're just magical pieces of fabric. Of course, we have the Indian block print that I love, and anything pink, little block print fabrics I just love so much.
One thing I would like to show you as well is that we're doing in the process is we are, as Tamara mentioned, we're reproducing old vintage lines. So, for example, you tell her about that.
So this is an old piece of fabric that I had, and we sent it to my guy in India, and he reproduced it on linen, which is just lovely. And now we're reupholstering in this.
So it's just basically, these are all vintage archives prints, and we're reproducing it for outdoor lines, as well as for upholstery, curtains, pillows, and this is a couple of the samples. But hopefully by the end of the year, we're going to have a new line for the next show.
Yeah.
So again, it's old textiles that she finds, and we figure out what, if we can make a pillow out of it, or should we just not
reproduce it. Or here's some more of the Indian, like the hippie fabric that is another from the 60s and 70s that people used to put all over their walls, and it's just so beautifully made, and you can't find it anymore. So I want to reproduce it. And it's almost like on a gauzy piece of fabric. They're old tablecloths. And you can cover the walls with them. You can cover a sofa with it and just layer and, drape them. It's so much fun.
Anybody who was, from the 60s can relate, that's for sure, because these are they all come from the 60s.
60s and the 70s.
I'm an obsessive about making lampshades in this fabric.
Yeah. And then this piece back here that's on the back wall is a beautiful piece that I found in Brimfield. This man had it in this suitcase, and I pulled it out of this old suitcase, this one and the one in my bedroom. And it's just the workmanship on this piece of fabric it's all block print, and it's just magical. One thing I do want to mention, this is my friend Pedro de la Cruz, beautiful artist, Santa Barbara artist. I just love this is my daughter and her little dog. And I just love the little simplicity of this painting.
Another artist that we are friends of ours, a very well-known Santa Barbara artist, Colette Constantino. This is actually a print that she actually made for Schumacher.
For wallpaper.
This is actually a print, but we just love the colors with the walls.
She's so talented, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So beautiful. This is one of my bowls that I like the ones that are up on the wall from Turkey with all the one-of-a-kind different. And this is just a larger one. Inside, I have another collection I love antique tarot cards. I mean, I would love to make wallpaper out of this. I mean, they're just unbelievable. All the patterns and the color palette and everything. I just love them. So I'm just trying to find out what I'm going to do with them. So I just leave them in this bowl until we'll figure it out.
The table is Indian.
Rose Bowl. We got it at the Rose Bowl years ago. And again, it's just that one little pop of red that just makes me so happy.
Yeah. The pillows is a mixture of different textiles. The gingham is actually hand spun from the Hill tribe in China, and this is an old Nankin vintage textile, very very rare to find with the vegetable dye. One thing that I'd like to share is that we like to have stuff look older, and by that meaning more muted. So we flip the textiles inside out.
We like everything, we turn a lot around, so
Yeah.
it's not so bright. It's kind of like a soft red.
Yeah, it's like a faded.
It looks more worn and more, lived in.
So again, a mixture of there's French ticking.
There's French.
There's
old hippie
old
again.
vintage again, yep, and then
the famous poppy that we love.
yes.
In the afternoon, the sun comes in here and these windows open, and it's just such a little refreshing room.
Okay, so this is our youngest daughter, Gabby's room. And as you can see, she's got the boho chic vibe going. She got a little bit of mom's bug with the textiles. She loves color. And she's on her bed. You'll see that she's got some of her mom's favorite vintage Suzanis, layered with a Campa blanket, vintage Suzani on the wall.
She loves her monograms.
She's a big monogram girl on her pillows. Yeah, it's a fun room. A lot of light. It's wraparound windows, and she definitely loves to have a little bit of sleepovers with her friends over here. It's simple. It's a simple room.
It's a very happy room, though. The light in here is just lovely. It's really fun.
So this is, for example, this is a bedding line that we created last year. Again, a reproduction of some old textiles that Tamara made. So we did that.
And then we faded it to make it give it a little pink tint. And just, again, the yellow in here, because it's such a happy room. So, I think it calls for that. The bed is she picked this bed out in Round Top, and it was blue. And so we painted it, and it's just a little spindle bed. It's really fun. The majority of this stuff is found. I mean, these are found during COVID, the old English dressers, and then the little side tables, and then just mixed with the armoire I wouldn't necessarily have in here, but for a teenager, she needs to put all of her stuff. She's got so much stuff so that it doesn't get overwhelming.
We rarely actually get anything that's new.
Yes.
We're big into finding treasures.
Right.
But sometimes if you need some room, you got to find a dresser or an armoire. You got to go for it. And so, but ideally, we would put something probably a little bit older than that.
So this is our primary bedroom. Again, just kind of layered and thrown together. This is my favorite piece that I found in Brimfield. I just got it from a man that had it in an old suitcase, and it's another tree of life. It's just a beautiful piece of textile that I love on the wall. The sconces I found, I love anything shells. Shells make me happy, shells and birds. And I found those in Round Top. The antique French mirrors are always a plus. The Louis Philippe.
And then again, we don't hang things very much, but we like to just lean like a mirror on a dresser. The old vintage dresser from our farm in Texas. Tamara collects a lot of wicker lamps and chairs.
I love vintage wicker.
So that's her big thing, as you can see, like the towel holder. And then our bathroom, our tiny little bathroom is actually, it's small, but it's functional. And we have this beautiful wallpaper that she found. She actually hung it herself, unbelievable. And vintage rug, an old vintage Louis Philippe mirror. But if you could see, like, there's a lot of quaintness.
I love the old little sink.
Yeah.
I love just the charmingness of this little tiny bathroom. It's very special. And then I have one of my favorite little Mary Maguires over the toilet. It's always a fun thing to have.
It's an old custom bed that was handed to us by some friends of ours. It came from a pretty special place, and it's extremely
beautiful.
Comfortable.
Yes, we love our
and
bed.
It's never going to part with us for sure.
And then over here, I have some art. I went to art school in France, so I did a lot of drawings, and so I love the nudes, of course, because it was a lot of that. And then just birds again that I collected from different flea markets. There we are with the family, and there's Jean-Philippe and I when we got married many years ago.
The curtains and the pillows are Fortune textiles, very, very expensive textiles. It's I don't know how we end up getting them because
A friend of mine gave them to me.
So here you are. Friends of ours give us a lot of stuff.
The closet's really fun. It's kind of like a colorful experience.
You got to get tight shots in there.
This again is a piece of fabric that I found from England, and I had it reproduced and then just made on this super soft cotton. And it's a little prairie dress. It looks really cute in the summer. And then here's another one that I made from an antique piece of fabric, paisley fabric. Again, just a really simple little summer dress that, and then in Texas you can wear it with like boots, a little hat, like you put it on and you're good to go. And then I made some winter ones that were very popular with the turtlenecks. Again, another piece of fabric that I found and just had it reproduced and made the dresses on with it. So it's just kind of fun. I just kind of go with my intuition with the fabrics that collect a lot of vintage. This is like heavy something from some Arabic country. I don't know, it's just a beautiful textile. The vintage clothing is kind of a big thing. I have a bunch of the patchwork, my patchwork dresses that I love. They're like work of art.
This is our guest cottage, actually my man cave.
Like man cave.
But we also, our son is living at home now with us, so he's staying here. And this is a little bit more masculine. So not a lot of pink in here, as we'll see. I'm very influenced by Ralph Lauren. And so since I've been into design and clothing. I've been getting inspired quite a bit. But everything, again, is vintage, like the African vintage textile. We found an old wing back, and I thought it would be kind of cool just to put some really good fun indigo on it. An old restoration hardware sofa that we upholstered in vintage linen fabric, but that we also had dyed in a fun brown chocolate color. As you will see in California, we use a lot of sisal. We sisal a lot of our rooms, but sisal is a big thing out here. It's great for the sun and water and sand.
It gives that natural tone.
Yeah.
It's really a natural vibe.
The pillows, as I was saying to you, Pillow Man, influenced by Ralph Lauren. Old vintage African textiles that we patched some Japanese Boho. Do quite a bit of that. The sofa also vintage linen that we upholstered with this. One of my first gifts that Tamara gave me 30 years ago?
Probably.
35 years ago, maybe, as an anniversary gift. I love American Indian art as well. So this is an old restoration chair that we found in a dealer, and
In Round Top.
in Round Top, yeah.
And then this is all reupholstered in vintage linen that we have
Yeah.
dyed. So I love the hodgepodge of that. It's so fun.
So back in when I was a lot younger, I was doing some modeling, and these are some old photos I took for a magazine. These are our children, our
Check
son
out.
Max, our youngest Gabby, and then our oldest Phoebe, and famous photographer Jack Guy did a lot of the photography for us. My son's a big skater, and you can see he's got a lot of skate photos in here as well. I love using rugs and textiles on the walls. It just adds so much. I mean, because they're pieces of art, and not just for the floor. You can literally hang these. This is a Turkish rug as well.
A home means to me a place where I can be myself and be free and do my art and be with my family, of course. And that's exactly what we do here.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Beth. Welcome to my home in Orange County, California. I'm so excited to bring you inside. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Beth Jones. I'm a fashion stylist and content creator. I've been doing this for 17 years, and you are here in my home in Orange County, California. I have been living here in this home since my son was 1 year old, so about 10 years. And we were on the hunt for a home, which, if you know the California real estate market at all, having a home that was more than 3 bedrooms in our price range was a big deal. And also one that was, kind of my personal style. So I was on the hunt and found this 4-bedroom home in a great town called Tustin. And the biggest selling point for me was the fact that it was mid-century, but really it was the fireplace, which is a see-through fireplace between the dining room and the living room. it definitely needed a lot of work, but I saw all the potential in it. And so I instantly fell in love with it. I drove over here. I convinced my husband to come check it out. And I don't even know how, but we ended up getting this home. And honestly, I'm in love with it. And it's just been such a fun home to live in. And then we've been making it our own along the way, which I kind of love that. I'm such a, kind of builder and creative. So I love that we've been going from the beginning stages to where we are now with it. I've taken this mid-century home and I love the bones of that, but I am a little quirkier than maybe the strict mid-century style. And so I turned this into what I like to call haute eclectic. I love something to be really eclectic, a mix of lots of different eras and times, as if I've traveled around the world and found everything. I haven't maybe traveled around the world, but I've traveled around thrift stores, flea markets, vintage stores, everywhere I can find a gem, I bring it into this home. And then the haute part is a little bit elevated. I like it to feel a little glamorous. I don't want it to be too tchotchke or too quirky. Totally, I want it to have that haute element to it. Welcome to the entry of my home. This is, to me, setting the tone for the rest of the house. I'm saying, hello, welcome. My house is gonna be full of collected treasures, and I'm setting the tone right here with this entry space. I think the biggest thing is the backdrop, which is this gorgeous wallpaper that is from Anthropology. I loved the black and white with a touch of green in it, and you'll notice that I have a lot of black and white, green, and oranges in my home. And so I feel like that was just instantly drew me in, and I picked that here for the entry. And then really, like the rest of my home, it's such a collection of vintage and thrifted finds. I honestly just spend years finding all of this stuff. Some of the fun little things, I have this great basket down here, which I love, was a gift from a friend, and I ended up using it here in my home, and I just like having that here at the entry. It's also a catch-all sometimes for shoes, or if there's something laying around, I'm just gonna stick it in that basket. Back behind me is a bunch of posters, vintage art posters. I really love vintage art posters. I like that they often have the date on them. Something that makes me very excited is when I see a date. So this one is from 1977 in New York. And I love to know the history of the art poster. And really, it's a collection of a bunch of different types of art, and very graphic, very bold, and I love just kind of setting the tone right there with that. These cute little swan ducks, whatever you want to call them, have been loved and broken by my sons a few times, but we keep bringing them back to life, and I love these. I found this at an antique store here in Tustin, which is the town that I'm from, and they will continue to probably be broken, but brought back to life as much as I can. And really just a few other little collected vintage treasures. I'm always looking for baskets and things that are unique in shape and can also be used to put, more flowers or more accoutrements to the pieces. But we're gonna go from our entry into the living room. We are now in my living room, which I feel like is the heartbeat of my home. And I think the big centerpiece for me is this gallery wall behind me. It's full of so many pieces of art that I honestly have been collecting for the last 20 years of my life. And as you can see, there's kind of a theme throughout all of them with the color palette. I often am looking for browns and creams and oranges. And so that's what connected all of these for me. And they really are from 20 plus years of collecting, and they've come with me throughout each home that I've lived in. And so I feel like that's the first thing that always goes up in every home. Now, we've been in this one for 10 years, but it has traveled with me and landed here. And so I always feel like that just sets the tone for me, and I love it. And then really, to me, what makes this room magical is the arrangement of the furniture. I have the couch. I've got two kind of conversation chairs, as I like to call them, and an accent chair. And I love to make it feel like let's all gather around and chat and drink coffee and watch a movie. And so for me, that was so important with the design here in the living room. And I would say this is probably my favorite room in the house. This has so many amazing collected treasures. I have books all over the table. And one special thing that people are often surprised by is that I actually make a yearly book of my family, and they're all throughout the house. And so I have the last few years here on our table, and often we have guests over and they find themselves looking at it and think, why have I not done that? And I love doing it. It tells the story of each year of our life. And so that's always very important to have on our table. And then because I love fashion, I have a few fashion books with my Prada book. I have an amazing book by a friend of mine called Big Thrift Energy, which is so incredible. This is by Virginia Chamley, and it's all about making your home special with thrifted treasures. So you know I love that. And then another really special piece is behind me. This is a Picasso print curtain that I found in an antique mall. And then I just love Picasso in general, and so I loved the idea of displaying it more as a mural. So we, added a rod to it and then just put it here in our home. And this has been in our home, I think, since the very beginning. So I loved all the colors throughout the graphic print of it. And something that I'm always trying to do with my home is the juxtaposition of very art-driven pieces that feel graphic and punchy, but then accented with something that feels maybe more romantic or more antique. So I'm always playing with that juxtaposition throughout my home. And you really can see that here with a lot of these pieces in the mix. We have these incredible candlesticks that have these gorgeous birds on them, and this always makes me think of Iris Apfel, and that's just really fun to think of something special that she might have in her home, which she was a maximalist if there ever was one. And then again, I collect a bunch of art books and try to always pick books and used books that feel connected to who my family is. So I have an old fishing book, we love to fish. I have art books, Picasso, and really, again, just lots of treasures throughout. And I do think another theme that you'll see in my home a lot is face-driven art. I love faces. I love to have forms and faces in a lot of my art. And I always want art that has been dated and signed by the artist. That is often what is the selling point for me, which you can see here, Lynn Carlson, 1989. I love that. This amazing floor lamp was found at one of my favorite thrift stores called Habitat for Humanity Restore. If you have one in your area, go to them because they have the best furniture. And I found this, which I think is more of the 1980s style. And I love the juxtaposition, like I mentioned. I love that there is this very sculptural 1980s lamp, and then it's next to more of a, kind of traditional black and white striped chair. So I like mixing it all together. And something else that you'll see here in my living room is that I have 3 rugs layered on top of themselves. I have a huge rug, and then I have this more graphic print rug, and then I have another antique rug on top of that. And really, that is another theme that's throughout my whole house, is the idea of layering. I'm often going to take a piece, put a book on top of it, and then put something else on top of that. So I love to layer with my outfits, and I also love to layer with my home. And as I'm kind of glancing up here, this chandelier is, I think, one of the very first pieces that I found before my husband and I moved into our home together. And I found it at a garage sale. It was hanging in the garage. And I thought, I have to have this chandelier. It felt so romantic moving into my home with my husband. And we actually used to have it in our bedroom. And then when we moved into this house, we brought it here in the center. So this feels very special to me. It feels very sentimental. It's a little bit falling apart, but I think I'll just keep it forever just because it feels like the first treasure that I found for our home, and we've had it now for, you know, over 20 years. So I love that. I'm always looking to add more to my home. I found these amazing shelves at a thrift store as usual. And then what I like to do is go on a hunt and find all the little things to add to my spaces. So I went just with that in mind. I went hunting for treasures to add to this. I love it. It's such a mix of everything. I have a little vase, and then I took candles and stuck them in there as if they were flowers or a plant. I love that they're all different shapes and colors. And then a really great vase. This is a drum, which has even the musical notes sketched on that, and it has a great bold color on the side with blue and red pops. And I just thought it was so unique and cool, and so I added that up there. I've got some more candlesticks and also just another great vase. So I'm always on the hunt for anything that feels unique, as if it's lived a life already, and then I bring it in and display it as if it's art. So this mirror is a little bit of a story because this is the second life mirror. I had a gorgeous gold mirror that was actually in our very first home. It's been with us forever, and we had a little situation where we had two little basketball players deciding that this was their basketball court. They smashed into that mirror. It came down, shattered everywhere. No one was hurt except for the mirror and maybe my heart a little bit. But we went out and we found another one to replace it, which I love it. I love that there's a story behind the fact that we lost our original mirror, but I love to have a great mirror. I think it helps to open up a room, it reflects, and it can also be a fun little selfie mirror. I take selfies here sometimes, and even with my family every now and then. So I love to have that as just an accent here in the hall and open up the space more. And something else that I didn't mention is that all throughout the whole center of our home is black and white walls. I have white on top and black on the bottom, and we did that from the day we moved in. And to me, it just set the tone. It was like, this is the black and white palette, and then let's add all the crazy fun eclecticness on top. The very first thing that drew me to this home was this amazing fireplace. It was a see-through fireplace that connected the dining room and the living room, which there used to be some more walls involved, which we removed. And this also used to be a white fireplace, and then we ended up painting it all black. And I just love that accent right here in the home. And for me, something I talk about with my home is that I want it to be something that's warm and cozy. And the fact that we have a central fireplace casting that warm glow and that warm feel all throughout my house was absolutely the biggest selling point for me. And I just love it. To me, it's romantic and it's cozy, and I love it. And then again, more faces and more figures are going to be throughout my whole house. I love this piece of art. I got this at an antique store here in Orange, which is a great place for finding amazing home treasures. It's a whole area called Old Town Orange, and they have a huge streets and rows of antique stores. And I found this beautiful piece with this girl holding a bird, and I absolutely love it. I feel like there's a whole story happening there in her face. And then again, just more sculptural pieces. I like to just look for anything that feels dramatic. This could have been an outdoor piece at one point, but I liked putting it on top of a table, and then I'm always layering, so another little sculptural piece is underneath that table. And then this here is probably one of my favorite pieces of art. This I also got at an antique store in Orange, and if you've ever seen the movie with Drew Barrymore of Ever After, this reminded me so much of the painting in that movie, which I think it's supposed to be Cinderella in the painting. And I immediately thought of that movie when I saw this painting, and I've had it, I think, for 10 years, at least as long as I've lived in this house. And again, it just feels so romantic. It feels nostalgic for me since I love that movie. And I love the colors of it, and that it's kind of abstract. You don't totally see every detail. And I like to add just like ropes and cords all over different pieces of art. So I just added this little kind of tassel cord on top. So my professional journey is full of twists and turns. I started a fashion blog back in 2007, which the word blog was like a foreign language. Nobody knew what that was at the time. And I actually started it with the idea of eventually maybe opening a vintage store. And so I wanted a website about what that vintage store was going to be about, and I found these things called blogs, which were to me a free website basically, and I started to just document how I love to wear vintage clothing. And then little did I know that this would turn into a full-blown career, that people would be reading my blog from all around the world, and really all the twists and turns started to happen. I have done so many different things over the last 17 years. I worked with the surf brand company Quicksilver. They launched a women's line and I became an ambassador for them. And really when I did that, that introduced me to the whole extra layer of the fashion world, because I was in New York, I was in Europe, I was meeting with designers, magazines, and really kind of exposing myself to the whole world of fashion. And then from there, I basically started doing styling, editorial styling. I worked as an online fashion editor for a long time. And then really it turned into B. Jones Style, which is what it is now. And I think it's what I would call a creative hub. There's a YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, my website, bjonesstyle.com. And it really, I say, the heartbeat is always play dress up. Everything that I create comes from this place of playing dress up. So I'm always creating videos and content that's about playing dress up. And I like to do that with vintage clothing. And I get to bring viewers into my world, which is about going into a thrift store or a flea market or a vintage shop and finding a treasure, but then being inspired by what's happening on the runways in New York and Milan and Paris, and really just playing as if I'm a 5-year-old with a dress up closet and recreating what I've seen on the runways with my, thrifted treasures from all the different places that I go to. The living room is such a central part to our home, and what I love about it is it also features our atrium, which is a indoor-outdoor space that we spend a lot of life in, we eat meals in. So I'm gonna take you over to our atrium. Welcome to our atrium. This is one of the biggest things about my home that I fell in love with when I first saw it. I loved the idea of having an indoor-outdoor space that our whole home is centered around. We've used this as, a hangout space with chairs and couches, but we turned it more into a dining space, which I really love. We live in California, we have beautiful weather, and so I love the idea that we can come out here and have a family meal. This is my favorite place to entertain. I like to think of a whole new story. I recreate the table. I go out to the thrift stores. I love to find even new plates and glasses and do different tablecloths. So I love to help it feel like we're escaping into a European vacation whenever we have a dinner party here and under the twinkle lights and cheersing with all of our friends and our family. So to me, this is such a great place for a party and for having friends and turning on the music and just having a great time. But then, on the day-to-day, we really do spend family dinners around this table. And now that spring is here and the weather's nice, we're often out here having dinner. And then even on our twinkle lights, I've added these strands of beads and really just anything that drapes to me is adding a little bit of romance to a space. And I actually did this over the holidays, and then I thought, this is really magical. I think I'm gonna keep this idea going. So I've just added more beads to it, and I think it's fun. I can change it out and put other drapery out here as well. But for now, this is what I'm sticking with. And then just some fresh flowers and plants, always with the candles, setting, just more of that ambiance for guests. And then we've had a lot of fun adding some beautiful plants and this gorgeous tree here in the atrium. And actually, it's funny, we have all these amazing vines growing throughout the atrium, which we did a renovation and they had to tear all of them down, which broke my heart because I love the vines and how amazing it feels in this space. But thankfully they all came back to life and started growing again, and they're kind of falling and wispy, and it feels very whimsical and playful out here. And yeah, this is one of my favorite places in our whole home. This is a place that we love to eat and have dinner parties, but I also love to entertain and gather around our dining room table, so let's head in there. And while we're heading into the dining room, I did want to point out this amazing trim that goes around our door frame that goes down to our bedrooms in our home. I love this because I had a friend over, we were having dinner, she's an amazing artist, and I was telling her that I wanted to create this unique frame around the door, and she was like, I can do that right now, let's do it. And I thought, okay. So she freehanded and then just sketched out with pencil and then went in and painted the whole frame as we were having dinner here in my home. And I love that because it's just this personalization that happened spontaneously from this amazing artist and friend of mine. And I feel like I have a little piece of her right here in our home, framing the rest of our home. So then here in our dining room, I think the first thing that I'll mention is just this beautiful marble table. This is a story in itself. Usually pieces in my home have some kind of treasure hunt to them, and I found this on Facebook Marketplace. It was, I think, $15, and honestly, I think just someone wanted it moved for them because it was so heavy. And I was dressed up in some fabulous outfit. I think I even had platform shoes on, and my husband and I went and tackled this thing and dragged it out. I don't even know how it ended up in our car or ended up here, but we got it here. And I love it. I love that it's kind of got this green and this really unique abstract, almost painterly element to it. It's absolutely beautiful. And really then we surrounded it with some amazing fabric chairs that I picked up at the Long Beach Antique Market. And then we have this amazing chandelier. This is from West Elm. I worked with Victoria Smith, which is a home interior designer, to help us renovate this whole space. And she helped pick out that design for me. And then up here on the fireplace is this beautiful piece of art that is, again, lots of black and white in my home. And so these two kind of mirrored images of flowers. And this is also a fun treasure that I found. I go on a yearly thrift road trip with a friend of mine, and we went to Tucson, Arizona, and I found this at one of the antique stores that we went to in Tucson. And so I also love that I found it on a road trip with her. So that hangs here on my fireplace. And then this rug is from the Long Beach Antique Market. I love to go to the flea markets and find my rugs, and I think if I had to say there's one thing that's the most important to me in a room, it's a rug. You get the rug and then you can kind of build everything around that. And I also believe in kind of those vintage antique rugs. They really hold up over time and they feel timeless and trendless. So here in our dining room, I have this walk-through space that I wanted to create a whole vignette, but it also needed to be functional at the same time. The very first thing I put up was this incredible piece of art. I love it. It's been signed by the artist in 1953. And again, I found this at a thrift store. It was actually tucked behind a couch, lots of clutter on top of it, but I saw just the peak of it and thought, what is that? I have to have it. And once I, pulled it out and saw it, I fell in love with it. It's another piece that's really traveled with me through lots of our homes. And I love the color palette of it. I love that it's dried flowers and flecks of gold. And it really is absolutely beautiful and such a central piece to me here in the home. And then I have this bench here, which is great. I think it's beautiful, but it also is very practical and functional because I do have two boys and they like to throw things, off to the side when they come in the house. So this is kind of nice. This is where backpacks and things like that go, or sports equipment even end up. And then this little vignette to me is really special. I love it. It's a great place to sit and have coffee, or if there are people over here, it's another little kind of hangout space. And I don't know why, but this fish vase is one of my favorite pieces. Another theme in my home is fish. My boys love to fish, and I think that just draws me to fish. So I'm always looking for little fish pieces everywhere I go, and I love this quirky vase and adding these feathers in there. And then really, these are just a bunch of collected items. I found this at an antique mall in Orange, and I just love that it's like this very sculptural piece there to kind of set the stage and kind of frame out this whole space. Just on the styling note, I love to layer things up, and so I'm always looking for extra pieces to add. So something a little more unexpected is I love this little tassel that I found at a thrift store, and I just added it here on the lamp. So I think just looking for those pieces and dressing up the items in your home can be really fun. So my approach to fashion and my approach to my interior design style, I think, is very similar. It really is about, I think, the treasure hunt and bringing that to life. Now, it could be through what I wear, or in my home, it's about where it all ends up and how I kind of create the final product, which actually in my home I feel like is never ending. I'm always building and always creating and always adding more. I would definitely say I'm a maximalist when it comes to my personal style, and I would say that's very much reflected in my home. There's lots of things. I am not the person that is take one thing off or take one thing away. I'm, if anything, put more things. How can I stack? How can I layer? And that's so much about how I get dressed every morning as well. And as you can see, our dining room is really open and flows right into the kitchen. So let's go ahead and head into our kitchen, which I feel like is just really fun. I wanted everything to feel really open. I wanted it to feel like a place that people can gather. And so it was really important to me when we renovated to do this whole central island here, so that we can have people sitting here if I'm also cooking, or if my kids are here, they can be there eating, and then I can kind of be doing my thing. So I love having this central space here in the kitchen. And then really it's a lot of black and white. I went with kind of a black bottom and then white top, because I always feel like that's a great kind of starting place for all of the extra things that I like to add. I don't like to be locked into one one story. So I like to be able to add lots to it. And I always feel like black and white is just a great neutral. And then really it's a functional space, but then I'm going to have a lot of the pieces of art that I love with this guitar player on it. Again, hand painted. I'm always looking for those unique pieces of art whenever I'm at the flea markets. And then I've got everything ready for cooking. I really do love to cook, especially Southern food if I can, not all the time, because there's a lot of butter and cream that I can't always have in the Southern dishes, but I do love to entertain and have people over and cook some of my Southern dishes whenever I can. And then, I love to have a good morning with coffee. I've got a collection of some of my favorite cookbooks here. And then up here, when we designed the space, we added this big pantry with our fridge. And I definitely needed something large to go on top. I wanted there to be something up there. And I found this amazing set of 4 baskets. And I loved that they were from big to small, and I found them at a thrift store and thought they were the perfect element to add on top of our pantry. And then something just a little bit personalized and fun here in our kitchen is that we've started a collection of magnets from different places that we've traveled with our kids, and so they get very excited every place that we go to find the newest magnet. So we are continuing this tradition for every time we go traveling, but it's kind of fun, and there's a story, from each place, and a wedding in Wisconsin in the fall, and back in Hilton Head, South Carolina, where I'm from. And it's a shark because my husband caught a shark. So there's lots of little stories in those magnets, which I think is really fun. And then here on the countertop, I always love to have a big pot to kind of accent either amazing branches or flowers, whatever I'm in the mood for at the moment. This was a thrift store find as well. I do have a theme of colors that run throughout my home. So like a rusty red or a rusty orange is always going to appeal to me. And then I love to just add fresh flowers, fresh branches, whatever I've found along the way. I do like to go forage every now and then and clip things down and add them to my vases here on the counter. And then of course, just adding fruit for whenever my sons come home from school and then they're about to head off to baseball practice, they can grab a snack really easily, and I don't have to necessarily grab it for them. And then back here is just another collection of great art that I've found in actually a lot of different places. Some of the times where I've traveled with my husband, I usually try to find a piece of art from wherever we are. And so, you know, even as simple as a road trip to Santa Barbara, some pieces from Palm Springs. So I always try to find at least one piece of art wherever we go. And I like to just hang them all throughout. And you can even see over here, connected to the fireplace, which there used to be a wall right here, but we opened this up. So I loved that I could put even more art going all the way down. And this is another piece from my trip in Tucson. And again, it has 1976, the artist signed it. So I always love to see when the artist did it. So I get a question a lot about how do I have the home I have and then have two very active boys. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. And I think one thing is that I just raised them in this. They have, from day one, been in a home that wasn't necessarily covered in kid stuff, though their stuff was everywhere, you know, when they were playing with it. But they've lived in this house with lots of collector's items and things, and they've kind of just navigated around it. I do believe that, like I mentioned before, nothing has to be perfect. So there's definitely been broken pieces. And in particular, there's a mirror leaning on a wall, which is our second mirror because they were playing basketball here in my house and knocked it over and it shattered everywhere. But I just feel like you can't take anything with you. Who cares? It's fine. We'll all survive if something gets ruined. And really everything is mostly found in my home. So I feel like I can always find something, you know, again. And they have a yard to play in and they have a park to play in as well. Definitely their rooms are theirs and they can kind of get creative and crazy in there. But I just feel like raising them in the home that you want to live in helps them to kind of adapt to the surroundings. From here, you can follow me into our music room, which is in the back of our house. Here in our music room, which we were really lucky to get a fourth room in California. And so we turned this into my husband's and son's music room. He loves to play the electric guitar. He also was in a band in his youth playing the drums. So we have a drum set and we have all his guitars in here. And it's been really fun. Ever since his 40th birthday, he formed a band that's a 90s covers band. And so there's some pieces around here that are just from some of their shows and things like that. I really wanted to make this space feel like a music studio. So I started off with this incredible rug that I found at the Long Beach Antique Market and then really built around that. Even just pieces that I added here on the shelves. Some of them are just random little tchotchkes that I found along the way. And then we have a Coldplay record with the lyrics of Yellow on there, which that song is significant for my husband and I. And then, you know, some fun little family photos scattered throughout. But then something really special was this beautiful photograph that was taken in 1970 of The Who in concert. I love that it's an incredible band, but also this was taken at Angels Stadium, which my husband is a huge Angels fan, so I loved it. It was the coming together of music and sports, which is something that he loves. And then this piece of art here reminded me of a gold record that somebody might have in their studio, which I found this at an antique store as well. And I just loved that it felt music related somehow without being literal music. And then there are some photos and posters from some of my husband's shows that he's done. And then we just added some layers of cozy in here with a really great couch that I even chose the color to reflect often the color of guitars. And then we have a set of drums, and these are my boys. Santa actually gave them the drums, so it was fun to have them starting to play over the holiday season. And my husband is often in here just jamming and having a good time, but it's also a great kind of hang space. Whenever we have friends over, we'll all come back here and hang out, and if there's somebody who plays music, they'll start playing as well. So it's really fun. It's just a nice place for a jam sesh. So something a little bit funky about our house is that we are in a mid-century home, and so the whole home is flat roof, and so some of the ceilings are a little bit lower. I thought it would be unique and fun to add an accent color to the top of the ceiling. It is low, but I felt like it almost embraced the fact that it's low, and it just adds this great green pop that gives a little bit of life, and I just like framing things out like my hallway and then here on the ceiling. I just think that's a fun little addition to the home. One thing I love most about my home is that it really is a story everywhere you look. I think of fashion in that way. I want my outfit to feel like a story, a character, and my home is also a reflection of that. I love that I can look at a piece of art and I can tell you a whole story of where I found it, the man that I met that gave me a great deal on the rug, the chandelier that was in a garage sale before I even got married that I brought into our first home. I just think it's fun to feel like there's stories all throughout my home, and then it just tells one big overall story and will continue to tell that story. I'd love to go show you my favorite space, which is the primary bedroom and bathroom and closet. So let's go. We are here in the primary bedroom, which also functions as my workspace. And we recently renovated this space to add a closet and a better primary bathroom. But what I loved about it is that it really opened up our room to create, which I like to call it a pied-à-terre. It feels like my private little space where I can work and live and play. And so first of all, this space right here is where I work. I work in fashion, and so I wanted to surround myself with lots of inspiration. I had my contractor build these custom shelves so that I could put all of my fashion books on display and just keep myself surrounded by inspiration. So some of my favorites are, first of all, the Vivienne Westwood Catwalk collection that has all of her runway shows in it. I have some really special ones that are harder to find, like an old Chloe Sevigny book that has just so much inspiration of her personal style. And then I'm a huge Carrie Bradshaw fan, so I have a few of the Sex and the City books here. I have some more unique ones like the All-American ads from the 90s I love to use as references, and just even for inspiration for the work that I do. Grey Garden. So there's just tons of inspiration on these shelves. And then I've added just fun little collections of things that I found along the way at thrift stores just to keep it interesting and fun. And then even just here at the basket below are some of my go-to bags that I'm just grabbing on a daily basis. So I love to have those right there for me. So this love seat, I wanted to create a space where I could work, but also that would be comfortable and cozy. And this gorgeous love seat was actually found on Facebook Marketplace during the California hurricane. I don't know if anyone knew about it, but it happened last year, which was a huge shock. And I even messaged the lady and said, do you mind if my husband comes to grab the love seat from you? And he braved the weather and went and got it for me. And it's absolutely perfect. I love it. It's so cozy. I love all the little pink flowers throughout it. And then it just gives this great space to work from here with this little table. And I have some amazing art behind me. And then I even love to have some inspiration just constantly on display that I can change out with this pin board that I use as a mood board. So I'm always changing this depending on the season or what's going on, just to kind of get my brain buzzing and get me excited. And that just sits right here. And you know what? It also makes a great place for a Zoom call, because every now and then we still have Zoom calls and meetings, and I love to have something interesting behind me while I'm on a Zoom call. Throughout our home, we have black and white on all the walls. In here, I wanted to do a little bit of a different color palette, but keep that theme of the half white and then half whatever I went with. And I went with this more brown color just to change it up and give a little bit of a different accent color for the bedroom. And I like that because it feels like a great neutral that I could build on. I love to layer, and I love to layer rugs. And so first I added just a simple jute rug to fill the entire space to add some warmth. But then I have this gorgeous, amazing rug that I picked up at another one from the Long Beach Antique Market. I loved this peachy pink tone, and somehow that ended up very spontaneously in the rest of this bedroom. I didn't necessarily plan that out. I think I often start with a rug and then I build on top of that, which moving into the bedroom space, I absolutely love. This is Piglet in Bed is the bedding, and I fell in love with it. I love the stripes. I loved that it was kind of going along with the color palette that I have here in the room. And then I wanted to create an amazing space here behind the bed, and I envisioned some kind of mural or some kind of fabric. I went out with that in mind and ended up in an antique mall and found this gorgeous piece. It was already ready to go to be hung on the wall, and I think it's actually upholstery that someone quilted together. It happened to actually have the colors that I was looking for. I loved that it added some blues in here, and again, it feels like whoever made this already had a whole story going on, and I really loved it. It was spontaneously the perfect accent for right behind the bed. And then I'm always on the hunt for gorgeous pieces to add to the side of the bed, and I found this at the Habitat for Humanity Restore as well. I loved this amazing globe light that was already built into the shelf, and it has like this aged brass feel to it. And then I just added books and things that I love, magazines that I'm gonna grab while I'm laying here in bed. And then this is actually really unique and different. I loved it. It was a framed bingo game that someone had framed. They played their first bingo in 1993, and I just thought this was the cutest thing. I wonder if some couple played bingo and they fell in love over bingo. I don't know, but I thought that was so fun, and so that's a cute, quirky little piece of art there on my wall. And here on the dresser in my room is one of my favorite pieces of art, which is this amazing face print, which I've mentioned, faces travel throughout my whole home. And I found this with a friend. We were both at the we were both at the flea market, and I fell in love with it. I bought it, I brought it home, and then another friend was visiting and they thought, Beth, that looks just like you. And then I looked at it and realized it really does look like someone maybe did an abstract painting of my face, which is just kind of a fun, happy little coincidence. But I love that piece of art, and that's just kind of central for me here on this dresser. And then just a bunch of collection of, different pieces that I found at thrift stores, old pottery, always adding plants wherever I can. When it comes to personal style, I would definitely say finding that for yourself starts with inspiration. I believe that we should just be soaking up inspiration all the time. I love to look at movies. I love to look at style icons, if it's a character in a movie or if it's someone that's living and breathing now or from the days gone by. I love to think of characters in books and really look at the fashion books, look at the archives. I think soaking up inspiration is such a great place to start, and not that you take and replicate any of that, but maybe you find the thread throughout. What is the thing that joins all the inspirations that you're loving together? If it's chic and simple, or if it's modern and classic, or if it's eclectic and crazy, I think finding kind of the thread that weaves it all together is where you can kind of start, and then notice the patterns of what you love. And once you kind of have that inspiration, then going out and shopping and finding the things that kind of reflect what you're inspired by. And then really, I believe that you shouldn't let maybe where you live and how you live dictate what you wear. I think you should just be able to wear whatever you want. If you want to be comfortable and go to the baseball game, then be comfortable. If you want to be fabulous and go to the baseball game, be fabulous. So I really think you can just kind of interpret your style however you want and take that into the day and not necessarily feel like, oh, well, I have nowhere to go in this. I just think you should have fun and play no matter what. We're gonna move from the primary bedroom to the bathroom, and this is where all the pampering and the playing goes. So come on. So we are now in the primary bathroom, which I just had the best time designing. We recently just renovated this space, and as you can see, there is a lot of print and texture throughout this whole bathroom. Starting off with this amazing terrazzo print tile. I loved all the colors of the terrazzo, and to me, I know that this might be shocking, but this is a neutral for me that I can play off of, and I really loved that. And the next thing that I chose for this space was this gorgeous wallpaper. This is from West Elm as well, and this is a ginkgo plant printed all over. I love, again, the black and white, but with more of a graphic print. I feel like I'm surrounded by inspiration. I'm ready to get dressed, I'm ready to pamper, I'm ready to play right here in my bathroom. And then in terms of the bathroom and the sink, I think the very first thing that I fell in love with was this amazing leaf sconce light. That was such a central part for me when designing this space. And I always have a lot of gold and brass throughout my home as well. So those are, you know, a lot of the accent pieces in the bathroom are gold and brass. This is our toilet area, which I believe can be just as creative as the rest of your home. And I had so much fun designing this. I did a green accent wall inside of this little closet space and then filled it with art, lots of faces. So you're maybe not fully private when you're in there because there's a lot of faces looking at you, but I love it. And then really they're all from years of collecting. I went on the hunt looking for faces and thought it would be fun to add those right there to the little toilet closet. So it's a fun space to escape in and get maybe a little privacy. And then the bathroom extends here with this amazing shower, which I love. It feels so open. We have a lot of light coming in with windows and a door. And I just love that. I can watch the sun set. I can watch the sunrise while I'm taking a shower. But of course we need a little privacy. And so I found these amazing curtains which were already done, had come from a vintage market. And I absolutely loved them. Again, it felt like they seamlessly connected to the terrazzo print on the floor tile, and they have a nice heaviness to them. And honestly, these are my favorite curtains in our entire house. I love it. I added a little accent stool right there to throw our towels on. And then just continuing the tile with some of the green accenting with the white. And now we're gonna move into my favorite place, which is my closet. So come on in, and I like to call this the dress up closet. Not just the closet, it's the dress up closet. This is where you come and you play and you dress up and you become a new character every single day. And I had so much fun designing this space. And if you look at it, you might see that it does resemble Carrie Bradshaw's closet. It's that long style. It's got all of the fun all around me, and it's where I play every day. So when you first enter, I have this whole wall of shoes, which aren't necessarily filled with designer shoes or anything. They're all just fun, great pairs of shoes. Some of my absolute favorites are a pair of 90s, what I like to call Dalmatian print Mary Janes, and they're so much fun. They're a little fur, and they add a little pop of personality to any and every outfit. And then I really have organized this space with what I like to call versatility. I like to have lots of options for layering. So if you notice, there's actually not a lot of dresses in here because I do a lot of styling with all the other pieces. So I have a ton of blazers and jackets. And then this is what I call the party section. It's all of the pieces that feel like a party. I mean, how much does this say I want to have a good time and play? So this whole section right here is just party pieces, which is central in my closet. As you can see, I like to have a good time. And then I have, you know, all of my pants down here, tops, skirts, and accessories, loads and loads of accessories. I believe in adding all the fun, like cherries on top, to the outfit. I have a million belts, and you'll even notice up high I have a lot of hats. I love to wear hats. I often feel like an outfit's not complete if I don't have a hat on. And then, you know, all the bags kind of surround me here on the top, and we have been in the winter season, so You never know when you need a fur boa, is what I believe. And then even here on my party rack, I have like what I call the party shoes. All the shoes that feel extra fun. So I think having that central here in the closet just keeps me excited about getting dressed. It's not the classic pieces, it's the fun pieces. And then I like to just display some of my favorite pieces that are in my closet that feel like works of art and just they just keep me inspired when I'm getting dressed. So I do have a lot of clothes and I do like to keep things organized, and I am often hunting and finding more. So I do go by the rule, if I bring things in, then I need to send some things off. I don't always follow that rule, but I do really try to. I like to clean my closet out on a regular basis. So if it's every other month, I might do a good little scan, take things out that I don't feel like I'm wearing as much anymore. Or if I bring a bag in, I'm gonna take some pieces out, or I'm gonna lend them to people or send them off to new homes, which I really love to do here and there. I like to do a little closet sale where I can send my treasures off to other closets for someone else to play in. An important piece for me with this closet was to find a beautiful chandelier, and this is actually from another vintage lover who is a dealer at a space in Old Town Orange. She has an amazing vintage collection, but she also has this amazing chandelier. And so I asked if I could purchase it from her and bring it into my dress up closet. So from her dress up closet to mine, and it feels like the little central glow. It just adds a little bit of magic every time I'm getting dressed. I think what gives a home a soul is the life that is lived in it, and I want my home to be a collection of beauty, but I also want it to be a place where people feel so cozy and warm the minute they walk in. And I have set up my home to feel that way. I want them to sit here in my living room, which everything's kind of in a circle, so I want conversation to happen there. Nothing is perfect in my home, and I actually really love that, because to me, that's where life is lived. It shouldn't be perfect. Life's not perfect. And so I love that it feels like, yes, there's lots of art and lots of fun things to look at, but if you knock something over and break it, it's okay, because it was probably $5 at the thrift store. So I just like there to be stories everywhere, it to feel warm and cozy, and it to feel like a place of joy and celebration everywhere you look. I think home means joy and warmth and love and safety. I think it's coming together with all the things that bring you joy, that you feel safe, that you feel warm, you feel known, you can relax, you can celebrate, you can dance. And to me, that is where home is, and you can really make that happen anywhere.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.